This is Professor Bittinger. We're working on video 4 from chapter 1. We are going to briefly go through some slides pertaining to pollution. First of all, what is pollution? Pollution is any addition to the air, the water, the soil, or food that threatens the health and survival or activities of humans or other living organisms. This definition does not strictly apply to humans, it also incorporates other species. It is the contamination of the environment by a polluting substance, also known as a pollutant, such as a chemical or noise or heat. The effects of pollution. Pollution can disrupt life support systems for humans or other species. It can damage wildlife and human health as well as property, and it can cause nuisances such as noise, smell, taste, and aesthetics or sights. Pollution can be natural or man-caused. Natural forms of pollution, best example I could give you is a volcanic eruption. Man-caused examples would be burning of fossil fuels or discharging chemicals into a stream. We typically categorize pollutants into one of two source categories: point source pollution or non-point source pollution, and I will talk about those more in the next couple of slides. I would like to call your attention to the picture on the right side of your screen. This is a picture of a river known as the Elk River in West Virginia. There was a spill that occurred from Freedom Industries, which is depicted by this triangle in the center of the figure. The chemical spill occurred on January 9th, 2014, when a chemical known as crude 4-methylcyclohexane methanol, or MCHM, was released from this facility in West Virginia into the Elk River. The chemical spill occurred upstream from the West Virginia American Water Facility, located here. The West Virginia American Water Facility pulls water from the Elk River, treats it, and then distributes it to the communities in the surrounding area. Following the spill, up to 300,000 people within 9 counties of this area in Charleston, West Virginia metropolitan area were without access to potable, drinkable water. As a result, the West Virginia American Water Company had to give notice that the tap water was unsafe to drink after they recognized the spill had occurred. Some area businesses closed, hospitals had to take emergency measures to conserve their water, and the school systems in 8 counties were also closed. Charleston area residents hurried to nearby stores to stock up on available bottled and packaged water so they would have water to drink as well as water to cook with. This is an example of a point source pollution. Point sources are simply a single identifiable origin of pollutants. The picture presented on this slide is an example of smokestacks. The correct term is emission tower if you work in the industry, but air emissions from a smokestack is considered a point source. Treated industrial wastewater that is discharged into a stream is considered a point source. Similarly, treated municipal wastewater discharged into a stream is considered a point source, and a leaking underground storage tank is also considered a point source. These are more easy to identify as well as backtrack where the pollution is coming from and cause resolution to that problem on a more quicker time scale than when you deal with non-point sources of pollution. Non-point sources of pollution are more dispersed and difficult to identify. As depicted in this picture, there is trash in this river that came from a large area of land surrounding the river. And it's difficult to demonstrate where the trash came from. In these kind of situations, you step into cleanup as opposed to just trying to find the source of the pollution and stop the pollution, but then that is part of the process as well. Some examples of non-point source pollution include agricultural runoff, and this is an example of stormwater runoff, where stormwater from the adjacent surrounding land area to this river is collecting these materials, and they end up in the river itself. Another category that falls under non-point source pollution is residential septic systems that are located over a large rural area. This slide depicts 4 different examples of non-point and point source pollution. In the top left corner is a failed septic system in a rural area. Basically, the raw sewage is bubbling up to the surface from the failed drainage field. As a result, there would be an odor to this, as well as a health risk associated with the fecal coliform bacteria in the raw sewage. On the far right top corner is an agricultural field with rainfall runoff coming across the field and draining into an adjacent drainage swale. The drainage swale is going to lead into a nearby stream, which then leads into a river and eventually the ocean. Please notice that the water is very murky and muddy in color and is exhibiting high turbidity or sediment. That is because agricultural fields are more easy to erode soil from rainwater runoff. So you have a lot of sediment in that water as it's running off that agricultural field. In the bottom left corner, you can see some iridescent look to the picture in the bottom left of the picture. It's oil and grease that has collected from stormwater runoff from a parking lot. There is a storm drain at the top of that picture, which looks like it's clogged by sediment, grease, and oil. The material running off the parking lot will enter the storm drain, which then has a concrete conduit underground that takes it to the nearby stream. The picture in the bottom right is an underground storage tank that is being lifted up out of the ground and removed because it's leaking. If you look at the very bottom of this picture, you'll see a liquid coming out of the storage tank from several different locations. Those are tiny rust holes that occur in storage tanks after they've been in the ground for more than 15 years. So this storage tank is a leaking underground storage tank that's been identified and it's now being removed. Out of these 4 pictures, only one is considered a point source of pollution, and that's the one in the bottom right, the leaking underground storage tank. The other 3 are considered non-point sources of pollution because they're dispersed over a larger geographic area and sometimes more difficult to identify. So how do we deal with pollution? Well, if we know pollution has already occurred, the first step is let's clean it up. And we actually have laws that help regulate how we can do this. There are different methods and techniques that we use to clean up pollution and remove them from the air, the water, and the soil. A better option and a more sustainable approach is pollution prevention. Let's stop the contaminants from getting into the environment and basically stop the pollution before it occurs. That is a much more sustainable approach to this, and actually we do both at this time. We still have problems that we're cleaning up, and we're moving forward with being sustainable in implementing pollution prevention techniques in our industries as well. At this time, this concludes our video lecture. Please click on the next video to continue your lesson.